Welcome to this week's Who the Folk podcast. I'm Lonnie Goldsmith, the editor of TC Jewfolk. This week I talk with Charles Aaron, the owner of the human-powered health cycling team that is participating in the upcoming Tour De France Femmes starting on July 24th. We talk about what it's like to manage a global operation and the honor of participating in the first women's Tour de France in modern cycling on this week's Who the Folk podcast. And a quick note for you. We spoke a couple of months ago before Charles' summer got really crazy, so some of the events he mentioned were a little while ago. And before we hear from Charles, this podcast is supported by the Afternoon School in Midrashah at the Talmud Torah of St. Paul, offering online supplementary Jewish education for students in grades 2 to 12. Great Jewish education from any location, now enrolling for the fall. Learn more at ttsp.org/AS-M. Charles Aaron, also known locally to most friends as Chucky Aaron, welcome to the Who the Folk podcast. Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So, Charles, you are the director, the founder, I guess, of Human Powered Health, which is a international cycling team that is one of 3 American-based teams that has been invited to participate in the upcoming Women's Tour de France, which starts coming up here July 24th. So first of all, congratulations to you and the team for that. It's an amazing honor. And I guess, what does it mean to you as somebody who founded this team, and I'm sure had big aspirations for it, to be able to have that sort of opportunity?
Oh, this is a major, major milestone for us, for our organization, for me personally, for our partners that have many employees throughout the globe. Absolute major milestone in today's world, and in what I phrase as modern cycling in the world of sport, and especially here, there's a tremendous amount of relevance in America. So we hope. And the eyeballs and the excitement will carry on, and people will be glued to their TV set or on the side of the roads in France, cheering us on this July. But an unbelievable level of excitement for me personally, as someone who had raced many, many years ago, who aspired to be a Tour de France rider, which did not happen. It's just an incredible accomplishment, and something that I can't take credit for myself. This is a massive organization a massive effort from an organization based here in Minneapolis that transcends globally, that's racing every day in multiple markets all across the world to prepare us to compete at this Tour de France Femmes.
So what's it like for you as somebody who is the guy who runs the team, to have riders all over the world at a given time riding? Like, how do you sleep? Are you always watching something? Like, how do you, it's a big world with a lot of time zones. How are you able to watch all of your riders all the time?
Quick answer: no, I don't sleep, and you can ask my wife on that. I'm up at all different hours of the day. I also seem to crash out at different hours of the day too. But no, this is a global organization, a global racing circuit. And, I'm just trying to think. Yesterday we were in France, as well as Hungary, Tour of Hungary. We also had races going on in Spain, going on yesterday, all live TV coverage. So, every morning I'm glued to multiple computers and TVs that are playing to see what's going on, with phones ringing. Last week I think we were in Greece. Next week we're racing in Tour Norway. Then we come back to the States here in June for races here. All over the world, any given time. We've done the Tour of Turkey this year. Just unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I can't keep it straight. We have a logistics person that sends me an update every day.
I would think you'd have to.
Yeah. But you look at our schedule, it's so comprehensive. And the only thing missing with our men, and this is something that we're really striving for, is the men's Tour de France. And that's the final piece of this puzzle. So our women is called a World Tour team. We're one team. We have men and women. This is very unique in the world of cycling. It's been this way for almost 11 years. I think this is our 11th season with a men and a women's program. under one team, but we're one team and it's all titled Human Powered Health with, sponsors from all over the globe.
Yeah, I saw that on your website. It is a really remarkable list of sponsors, from, Acura, Goodyear, Felt Bikes, which incidentally is the bike I ride.
Nice.
I'm sure not near the not even remotely the level of bike that your riders ride, but Outdoor Research, United Healthcare, Children's Foundation. So it is a very large organization, and I suppose it has to be because just the sheer cost of maintaining a global cycling organization has to be pretty immense, I'd imagine.
Yeah. It's just to give you kind of a framework. We have offices. Well, we in the world of our sport, in the space of our sport, we call them service course, which has all the logistical elements: bicycles, equipment, tools, cars, trucks, buses. We actually have service courses in Girona, Spain. Ironically, an hour away from Barcelona. Beautiful city, tremendous amount of history, including Jewish history. It's just an amazing city. Then we also have one in Golden, Colorado, our American service course, which we've had for years. And then also we just signed off on a very small service course in Kortrijk, Belgium, because we're racing so much in Northern Europe now that vehicles going back and forth. It just makes more sense to have a kind of a landing pad, a place where we can have equipment, storage, some people working out of in Belgium. And then also here in Minneapolis, operationally, the front office is what I call, is based here. And that includes graphic design, web, myself, account managers, things like that's located here in Minneapolis. So, when you think about it, it's definitely something I didn't quite imagine all those years ago when I started this thing, that we would have a reach like this. But when you look at the sport and how global it is, certainly it's very relevant to what we do. And I only see it growing.
And Belgium and Spain makes sense. I think people who sort of know the cycling world know that there's a tremendous amount of cycling history in those two countries.
Yeah.
I mean, really throughout, and many other places in Europe as well, but Belgium and Spain especially have huge, historically have been great cycling nations.
Yeah. Yeah. From racing. I mean, for racing, it's just amazing that the presence that we have in these European countries and the level of acceptance that we have as the Americans going over there is pretty cool. I mean, it's every day you can race in Europe,
because it is such a global sport, and other countries have traditionally been arguably better at it than American teams. Do you feel like, as an American team owner, that you and the team get the respect that you should as racers and whatnot?
That's a great question. There is a level of intimidation. As someone who grew up watching, I mean, I go back to, I think I started racing in 84, 85. You're standing there next to guys who I used to watch on TV as my heroes, or people I had posters on my wall looking up to. There's a lot of excitement that we're there, we're competing, we're getting results, we're racing our bike. That's the expression. We're out there racing our bike every day. I think there is a lot of acceptance, and you saw it with this invitation to the women's Tour de France, the Tour De France Femmes, that there's this level of excitement that we're going to be participating in the biggest event, what I want to call one of the largest events for sport in general, and we're just so honored to be a part of that.
You mentioned obviously the invite to the women's tour. I want to talk about that a little bit in a sec, but you'd mentioned getting invited to the, that's sort of one of the goals is to get invited to the men's tour. What does it take to be able to get, for the team to get an invitation to the Tour de France?
Great question. I guess one, there's a level of competition, that you can race at that level. Two, I think there's a timing thing. Like, you can't just build a team and put in the Tour de France. There's so many things that you got to worry about. And one is, the equipment. Two, the logistics. Three, being there, there's financial considerations with regards to budgets, but, I think the timing, the experience of racing, you got to walk before you can run. And I think that's something that's very, very important. And this will be our 4th year racing in Europe with our men, as well as our women's program. One of them through a pandemic. So there was a tremendous amount of challenges. We're still going through the pandemic, but we seem to navigate that much better than we did 2 years ago with regards to the sport. But it's just the level of comfort that you can go and race a 10-day stage race or a 20-day stage race day in, day out. And trust me, the athletes get worn out, but it's a staff too that gets extremely worn out. Day in, day out, getting up early, working very late at night, and making sure that everything is done right.
Well, and you mentioned the logistics. Obviously, like I said earlier, it's 24 hours in a day. There could always be a race going on somewhere, sometime, and logistically, somebody's got to be responsible for that, I would think, as the team.
Absolutely. And then you throw in, you have riders from all over the world: New Zealand, Germany, America, Canada, France, Italy. Managing all that. And then, we're doing it, through a pandemic too. And there's effects there as well. We've had riders with COVID. We haven't had riders with COVID. We also have normal illness. We have broken bones. Unfortunately, it's cycling. You do fall down sometimes. So there's injuries and illness and managing all that too. And you throw that into your logistics mix up and try and figure that out. It's pretty demanding. So, I'm very fortunate. We have an unbelievable staff. I think the best in the business, and we manage that daily. Who's ready to go, who's not, and you won't even know, sometimes until the day before an event what that roster will be because of what can happen. So.
And it's got to be a little nerve-wracking. Not totally sure who's saddling up, but
it can be for sure.
So of you have 14 women riders that are part of the team. The hope is that all of them will make the start in the Tour de France Femmes, or do you have to pick?
I could be mistaken on this. I should know this. I believe it's a 7-woman roster for the Tour de France Femmes. If not, it would be 6, but I'm not so sure about that. We'll know soon. And we take the best, who are riding at the highest level for that roster, and then they'll compete, starting July 24th.
So it's for, again, people who watch cycling, sort of the one of the big, most memorable parts of the tour is the final stage, riding into Paris, the Champs-Élysées, and that's the end of the race. The women's race starts in Paris with the Champs-Élysées and ends in the mountains, as opposed to the men's, which goes flats, mountains, flat, alternates before getting to Paris. Is that because of the women's race starts about the time the men's ends, so they can sort of combine it a little bit?
Yeah, that's what they're doing, and it's going to be an incredible weekend in Paris. So I go over, I think, on the 22nd with a bunch of our partners, my family. We're going to go over, spend the weekend in Paris. Obviously a tremendous amount of excitement. Watch the women's race. So it's a circuit race, we call, in Paris. Think about that, a major metropolitan city shut down for a bicycle race. And then in the afternoon, early evening, the men come in from about 100 miles outside the city. We'll ride into Paris, do circuits around Champs-Élysées, and finish, which is just for someone like me who's been in the sport for years, being there, and I have been there in the past, spending the day. Typically, I've been there in the rain too, but hopefully it'll be blue skies, 75 degrees. It's just an incredible day. So to have not only our athletes, our partners, our staffers, myself and my family in attendance watching our team race in Paris, that's really exciting. Really.
It sounds like an incredible opportunity, obviously. And again, it's the first time this has happened. This race has taken place for the women in 40 odd years or so.
Yeah. Since I want to say the late 80s, and again, using the term modern cycling, this is the first time ever that there is a modern women's or Tour De France Femmes. It's great. It's something that I know people have fought for years. There was a one-day version of the Tour de France for women in Paris and then other cities in France, which we've participated in. But this is historic and a major milestone for everybody involved.
I mean, but like, this is an actual tour though. This is an 8-stage. So this
is a real Tour de France that will be televised daily, all over the world. And hopefully you'll see, our team, Human Powered Health, up front and center on the podium. I hope
so. I mean, which would be amazing. The last stage, I'm just reading about it. The last stage just seems brutal. 123 kilometers ending on a 24% grade in the mountains.
Yeah. I will not be riding that, but it's brutal. It's really brutal. Yeah.
Just phenomenal. All right. So let's go back a few years though. What was it that led you to start a cycling team? And I guess even predating that, where did your interest in cycling start?
That's a great question. I live in St. Louis Park. I grew up in St. Louis Park. I was I don't even know how to say it, but probably like a goofy kid. We know a few kids like that. And
sure.
I remember I went to softball. I went to basketball. I went to basketball camps and other sports camps. I played a little bit of soccer, and it just wasn't for me. And one day, I think it was for my bar mitzvah, I got a bicycle and rode around Lake Minnetonka and was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then just rode again and again and again, and just got into it. So I got into racing, and just got to see, a lot of different places, racing a bike and traveling the world. And certainly, as I got older, I realized that there was no future doing what I do in my mid-20s. And it was a time where, you had in America a lot of younger people my age at that time, 23, 22, 24, really winning major events. So it was a time to move on, so to speak. And I was offered a job, just random. Why don't you run our team? It was a team that I was racing for. And I said, yeah, this would be really, really cool to do. I really would enjoy it. And that was in 1995. And I've been doing it ever since. And here we are. Now it's been an incredible long journey with a lot of ups and downs and twists and turns through that process. But something that I've persevered. And really, I got to say, without the support of friends, family, the business partners, sponsors, everything of the sort that has supported me personally to this point. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Looking back in 1994, 95, I said the same thing. I want to bring a team to the Tour de France. Well, now we're finally doing it. So, it's to me, not how do I say this? It's not us going to the women's Tour de France or the Tour de France Femmes. It's us, at Human Powered Health doing our first Tour de France. And I hope that we'll have many more to come for sure.
27 years ago, you said you wanted to take a team to the Tour de France, and here you are. Like, you could have sort of thrown the towel in at any point, but
oh yeah, for sure. And trust me, there's been days where you think that. I was a little bit skinnier. My hair was darker, a lot darker, had more hair. But I look back and I would not have changed anything. There's a tremendous entrepreneurial story here. Mm-hmm. There were times where, you didn't know where the next paycheck was going to come or the financing is going to come. And certainly the belief that family had, friends had, supporters had, really has led to this moment. And certainly it is not forgotten. They're going to be in my thoughts, and hopefully they're going to be in France with us.
I mean, and obviously, I think the list of sponsors on the page sort of, we talked about earlier, really shows that it's not the kind of thing that you can do alone. Like, you need the backing of all of these corporations to be able to finance an operation like this. It just doesn't happen otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're grateful for that. absolutely grateful. And there's a strong Minnesota connection here. Obviously, for sure. Obviously working with, United Health. I don't
sure.
know how many employees they have here in Minnesota, but every one of them are in our thoughts as we go to France, because we're representing them and the mission of human powered health as a part of that. But also, I look back and I think of the sponsors that we had in the past, and there were a lot of them here that may not be with us now. But without their support, we would not have gone in to complete. I wouldn't even say complete, but to accelerate this journey to where we are today. And there's companies that Head Wheels and Kurt Kinetic Trainer, going back 10, 9, 10, 11 years ago that we worked with. Without their support, we wouldn't be here today. And certainly, the sponsors that we're working with now are just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable.
It's obviously incredibly exciting for you and the whole organization, from the riders to the administrative folks, to be able to have this opportunity. How can people watch or follow along the team as the journey in France kicks off?
Question. Historic Peacock, part of NBC, is going to televise the women's Tour De France Femmes daily. I would assume there's going to be a rebroadcast of that as well. Eurosport in Europe, that's 125 countries that will be broadcasting it live. But no, this is going to be televised worldwide. I assume in the newspapers, newspaper coverage will be incredible. But very historic precedent being set here that this is going to be televised like the men's tour.
Which is great, which is, somebody who likes to wake up and watch the men's tour over coffee. It's a lot of fun, and athletes doing just ridiculous things, at the speeds that they're moving, uphill, downhill. I mean, it is not without danger at times. that's just the bikes, let alone the fans who like to lean in.
Yeah, we saw that last year.
Yeah. You saw a rider get taken out by a fan with a sign.
I'll be honest with you. I typically sit in the car, and
oh, really?
I'm always like, watch out, or fake hitting the brake or something like that. I mean, it's just amazing the sheer amount of people on the side of the road. Being in a team car, it's just an incredible experience. Something that I hope that we're going to be, now with Facebook Live and all these other platforms that we'll be able to televise or transmit images and video content from on our website, humanpoweredhealth.com, daily. But it's just unbelievable. So proud of everybody being involved in this. And, it's very surreal for me. We're 2 months away from it. It's going to hit me, I think, 2 weeks before, as we're starting to make preparations, but just an unbelievable journey.
So you're the guy in the team car who's like handing the food out to the riders to like pass down the Peloton?
You know what? I have. I'll let you know a little secret. No, they don't let me do that. No. But I have. I've driven the cars in the past years ago. It's something I don't really need to do. We have just an unbelievable staff when it comes to that. And typically it's just more to get the experience, sit there, get to know our staffers, and just, go from there. So.
Well, that is awesome. Well, we will have the links in the show notes for how you can watch and follow along. This is obviously a very exciting opportunity for cycling fans in general, but also, for all of us in Minnesota who get to watch local boys team try to do something awfully historic. Last two questions, though, before we let you go.
Sure.
What is your favorite Jewish holiday?
Oh, that's a tough one. My favorite holiday, well, obviously, you got Purim. That's a fun one.
It is.
Certainly, I years ago got to live in Israel many, many years ago. Shavuos is unbelievable, beautiful time of year. For those of you who've been to Yerushalayim and Shavuos, it's extremely memorable going to the Kotel and Shavuos. So I would say That is my favorite one. I like to ride my bike. So, Log Homer is also a great time. But I would say shoeless. I love springtime here in Minnesota. Obviously it's more summer in other parts of the world.
Sure.
But that's a real special holiday for me.
Oh, absolutely. And what is your favorite Jewish food?
Ooh, my mom would probably kill me. I don't know. Falafel I wouldn't say is Jewish, but that's Middle Eastern. I love falafel. Schnitzel is great. Chicken schnitzel. Definitely not cholent. I was not a cholent eater. So I would say those two.
Okay. Not cholent. That would be the one that upsets your mother.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. My mother, for those of you who knew my mother, she was a very good cook. So yeah, she would be upset on that one. But challah, unbelievable. As a former cyclist, that's all I could eat. I would
just load up the carbs
all day, every day. So yeah, for sure challah. But that's a great question.
Well, thank you. Well, Charles Aaron, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck later this month in France. We will be following closely.
Great. Thank you.
The Who the Folk podcast is part of the Jew Folk Podcast Network, a product of Jew Folk Inc. Please subscribe, rate, and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you have suggestions for other podcast guests, please email them to me at editor@tcjewfolk.com. For our other shows, check out tcjewfolk.com/podcast.